This will be a description of the overall capabilities of the Quickdraw weaving program. I have a general capability of up to 32 shafts, 32 treadles. I can handle lift plans, multi-treadle wefts. I can convert a tie-up to a lift plan back to a tie-up. I have a broad capability of palette. I can select a range of colors. I even have access to a red, yellow, blue color spectrum for defining colors. The main editor functions have basic twill functions. I've got standard copy paste functions. If I invert that sequence, those guys are now up above, and I intersperse what I'd copied before, it will space those guys between. If I take that back out, I can also add parallel lines above or below my reference lines. Let me add one above. That will now add the parallel lines. I can add any number of parallel lines I want to. I also, when I'm dealing with the warp and weft, have direct control of the thread color and size of each thread if I'm looking at the threading diagrams. From the grid views, let me ask a sample here. Let me enter, say I want to weave a checkerboard. With a fill tool, I can fill in the checkerboard. Select the two boxes, copy that, switch to a paste tool. So I've now got a standard 8x8 checkerboard. Since I've called that a profile draft, I can do threading substitutions. I go to the threading, I can ask for a range of pattern types. Those are nice words, but it's a graphic world. When I ask for the thumbnails, it will show me my current pattern with all the different block substitution options. When I do a mouse over each one, notice the top right-hand corner will tell me the type of thread it is, how many shafts it will take in order to weave it, how many shafts and how many treadles. If I double-click, for example, into the Bronson lace, I've now done block substitution of that pattern in Bronson lace. In that particular case, if I ask for a finished view, it will actually recognize the lace structures and show me the thread deflections. If I go back to that block diagram, say I want to actually do a black and white checkerboard, let me do it in double weave. If I select double weave, if I actually do a right mouse click on the box, it will show me the block substitution diagrams that it will use. When I insert the block diagram, yeah, that's double weave, but it's hard to see. So what I will do is set up a thread rotation in color. I can select all. I can set that thread rotation in color. I can go into the warp, back into the weft, black and white threads in the weft. And I now have black and white, and I could do that with any other color I can imagine. If I ask for a finished view again, it would show me the foreground threads. You'll notice in the double weave, I've got black on black, and the very small threads in the background are what the back layer would look like. The other thing that's useful is analyze pattern for floats. It would actually highlight, show me where my warp and weft floats are. The other thing I can do with the grid, let me clear grid, turn off the background. I've actually got a picture of a weaving pattern here. I'm going to do a Control-A, Control-C for a copy. If I paste that as a color and weave image onto my grid, it's recognizing that weaving structure, analyze, and actually kept the color and weave effects, so I can now actually go weave that. So I have a full capability from the grid. When I go to the network view, I can ask, I have Echo and Iris tools as well as standard network drafting tools. I can select an initial and the treadling key. Normally I'll leave those for default. If I look for a pattern line, I'm designing on 32 shafts. When I take the mouse in, I can freehand whatever I want for design line. As soon as I let go of the mouse button and scroll back out again, makes the drawing line smaller, and it immediately shows me the pattern line. And if I want to, I can actually go back in on the ribbon line and scroll the ribbons. If you watch the middle of the spots there is where it's interesting. I can go shift that to any view I want. And if I go back in to the edit view, that pattern is sitting ready to play with. If I go back over to the network view, I actually do have a capability of adding color effects to that. I can add echo threads, or I can just colorize the existing pattern. Let me just add some warp colors. It's similar to what I did on the, what I can do on the warp weft editors. So by the color rotation, that just colorizes those threads in the sequence. Let me make the weft threads black. So I can now scroll down and I can see that same pattern in echo and iris kind of effect. Now, if I actually want to go weave that, minimize this guy for a second. The first question is, what materials do I need? An associated Excel spreadsheet template. In this case, what I need to know is what is the information out of this particular pattern. So if I go back to Quickdraw, open the line view, when I ask for threads, it tells me for each one of the thread colors how many threads are in that pattern, and for the warp and the weft. That information, you'll note, has been copied to the clipboard. When I go back into Excel, paste into that cell, I now have that information. Now I've gone to the interweave master yarn chart, which is the link there. Identified a 5/2 pearl cotton, 2,000 yards per pound. I filled in that information. When I filled in the pattern information, it now tells me there's 119 threads per repeat. Keeps track of all of the thread counts. So it's telling me for each one of the thread colors, I need, about 7/10 of an ounce. So it's telling me by ounce, however many colors I have, it will fill that in. Plus the warp, so I know total I need about about a little under 5 ounces. So I can acquire the material that way. Once I have the material acquired, I can then actually go back into the Loom Help tools. When I ask for warp, it has a voice interface. It will tell me the thread colors and which shaft each thread should be on. As I advance through that pattern, it will give me that. When I'm actually weaving the pattern, if I go to the weft view, it will give me a voice interface for those guys. If I want to, I can actually enable Adobe Loom for an AVL CompuAdobe 3 or a more generic loom, and weave those patterns. So that's how Quickdraw provides me a full range of capability. Thank you.